So good afternoon everyone. My name is Maurya Hanspal, and in this session we're going to talk about some of the basics of finance. Basics of finance. Okay. So firstly we need to understand what exactly is finance and what are the certain things like which must be known to everyone in finance. Okay. So see, finance is not something like related always to like managing your funds and all. Okay. Finance is a lot more than that. So when we talk about finance, as the name suggests, it means that we are trying to fund something or finance something. Okay, so that is completely correct. But that is something which is used in the case if you're going for a big project, or like if you want to buy a home, or if you want to buy a car, or if you want to buy something very large which can help for your businesses. In that cases, we can say the use of finance is of utmost importance. Because ultimately, when we are buying something which is very large, our home or a company or maybe a project or a machinery, that might give us a good returns in future. Okay, so obviously when we're talking about those finances, again you need to make a decision, that is with which source you have to finance that obligation. There can be like either you have cash, either you are like financing to complete cash, or maybe you are taking a loan. And in 90% of the scenarios people take a loan, and that's called a debt. And I'm talking about for the purposes of home loan only, a max to max education loan, or maybe for the purposes like if you have a business, so then for the purpose of cash or raising money you'll have to take a loan. Okay, so that is something else. But this thing you need to take into consideration as well. Okay, so debt is something which must be taken not for all the purposes, and especially not for your luxury needs or for the items that you know that you don't need. So for discretionary items, never take a loan. Never take a loan and build your EMI, like which is nothing but the equated monthly installments, like where you have both the principal and the interest amount. So never use it for the purpose of discretionary items. That is कि iPhone खरीदना तो लोन ले लिया, टीवी खरीदना लोन ले लिया. कार के केस में ट्राई लो ना लो, ट्राई टू accumulate savings so that at a certain point of time you can buy a good car. But sometimes the necessities happens and you have to buy the car for the sake of simplicity, because as per now we know that how the world has become. So for the sake of safetyness and all, you have to take a car. Okay, but try you take a car with max to max amount that you people can give from yourself, and the minimum amount you take as a loan. Okay, so that is something, because ultimately the burden of EMI, like when it comes on your head, it becomes too large. And sometimes it take away your sleep also. So max to max take a loan for the purpose of home loan or for the education, or because ultimately education is important. And like you'll be pay off, like you'll be able to pay off that loan if you are like a well-literate person and get a good job ultimately. Because education loan ले भी रहे हो तो like you people will be taking for the purpose of the higher education, your MBA or MTech, or like for some post graduation outside India. For all these purposes, like you would be taking a loan. Okay, so that is something that can help you in your career also. So one loan is home loan is mandatory, and that I won't say, because obviously like no one would have crores and crores of cash in their bank account, because most of us are like working class, the middle class people, and not everyone is a huge businessman like Tata or like Ambani or Adani. Like those person would be having like hundreds of crores in their bank account. Okay, home loan हो गया, education loan हो गया, and the last possible scenario, the least possible scenario, which I believe is car loan. Okay, so that is the one scenario that you need to look for. Okay, so these are like some of the sources of finance which I believe that you need to take into consideration. कि debt लेना है या cash payment करनी है, and that is completely like all upon you. So finance is nothing but how are you like financing your needs. So that is completely fine for all these things. But the main purpose of finances is how are you managing your own personal finances, because these are like big things, taking home loan or like education loan, or taking a loan for your business purposes. So these are big things in which you have to think and take a lot of time out, because these are kind of big projects. But you have to think about your own personal savings as well. Like for example, if you are getting a salary, then how much salary you have to utilize, and that is the basics of finance. How much you have to spend on your needs, how much you have to spend on your wants, or how much you have to spend on savings. And savings is something which is a leakage to the economy, because saving रखने से कुछ नहीं होने वाला, because ultimately your savings will get eroded by inflation, because the rate of interest on your saving account were 3 to 4%, or in a fixed deposits account, max to max 6 to 7% that you get, it does not beat inflation or really beat inflation. Inflation is growing at a higher rate as compared to your deposits in the saving account and the fixed deposits account. So that you need to know. And I'll repeat the same thing once again. The rate of inflation that is going on is much higher than the rate of interest your banks are giving to you on your saving accounts and on the fixed deposits accounts. So that you need to understand. So those who are the students of economics or not even the students of economics, they try to understand that when you are investing or when you are not investing into the stock market or anywhere in any kind of instruments, be it the stock market, the bond market, the commodity market, or the crypto market, for which we have the separate sessions available on YouTube. So if you're not investing into the assets, your savings are just a leakage to the economy. Because if you're not investing into the economy, if you're not investing into the securities of the economy, the GDP of the company won't rise. Because ultimately, how the economy grows, how the income of the company rises, how the gross domestic product of the country rises, it rises only when you are doing investments. And if you're not doing investments, because I do not name this term as investment when you're putting your money into fixed deposits or saving accounts. It's not called an investment. It's just called like having to meet your contingency needs or buffer needs. Because for the equity market, to be very frank, we do not know that what would happen in the equity market. The market can give a boom or the market can go into a recession as well. So like for example, you need some urgent cash or some urgent money and the market is down. At that time, you cannot withdraw your money from the market instead of the principal amount. Or if the amount has turned to be negative, you people would hesitate in withdrawing that amount. So keeping as a buffer or as a purpose for the emergency fund or contingency fund, the fixed deposits can be best in that scenario. So do not consider your fixed deposits same as your stock market. In the stock market, you invest, and the purpose of investing in stock market is for the purpose of long-term returns, accumulation of wealth and profit. But to invest in fixed deposits or having our money in saving accounts to bekar hai, but having our money in fixed deposits can give you just an emergency fund or a buffer fund that you need to know. Okay. So like this must be the clarity. So if you're like saving something, try to invest maximum of that savings into the equity market and some amount into your fixed deposits. Not invest like, but just put for the sake of contingencies and an emergency that you need to know. So the purpose of investment must be clear for you. So ideally, like people see like the first area that they would get, people try to shop, they go for vacations, or like they need to spend on the luxury items, clothes, iPhones, not always iPhone, a Samsung phone or a Vivo phone will also work, but you need to spend on these things. Okay, but try avoiding spending on these things a lot. Try to make certain investments into the stock market, into equity market, because equity market, they enjoy the benefit of compounding. And that is nothing but your money grows and grows year after year. You earn interest on interest. If your 100 rupees amount, it grows by 10%, it will become like 110. Then interest would be charged on 110. 110 का 121 हो जाएगा. Then 121 पे 10% लगेगा. 1331, 131. Then 10% लगेगा. So all these things like must be known to you. The power of compounding in the stock market. And that is why invest in stock market for the purpose of returns, for the purpose of accumulating wealth and having profit, and not into the FDs. FDs are just as a buffer fund or a contingency fund. So these are like some kind of the basic things that you need to understand, like when you are having your savings. And also like one thing I would like to stress upon, the first salary that you get now, take an insurance. Because the earlier you take insurance, the better it is. Because at an early age, the probability that you getting the diseases would be very less because you are at a young age then. Okay, so that is one thing you need to understand as well. The probability of getting that insurance would be very less. And the premium बहुत कम pay करना पड़ेगा, max to max 1,000 per month, and you can get an insurance of up to like 1 crore. But if you take it at a later age, you'll have to pay a higher premium as well. So these are like some of the basic things that the people need to know about finance.